Been sitting here for a while trying to figure out how to start this video. Trying to figure out what I'm going to say and get my ducks in a row, but my ducks keep scrambling everywhere. So I'm just going to do the best I can. I'm sure I'm going to miss some stuff. But you guys deserve an update. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. Pepper passed away yesterday after a very long fight. And the frustrating part is that we don't even know really what she was fighting. So I'm going to talk about kind of what went on over the past couple weeks, how I'm feeling, and what the plan is moving forward today. And we're going to give that a go. So Pepper had a vet appointment that was a follow-up because a couple months ago she had these bladder stones. She was totally fine. She fully recovered. Everything was doing great. We had this as just a checkup, and a couple days before her visit, her stomach started getting upset. She was kind of throwing up. So we were like, this is great. We already have an appointment. We'll take her in. And we did. They noticed she was a little anemic. They gave us some steroids for her. They gave us some potential something to fight maybe a tick-borne illness that dogs can get. But ultimately, over the course of that weekend, after that vet visit, she started to decline rapidly. Her anemia got worse very, very quickly. And you could tell by looking at the color of her gums. Instead of being a nice pink, a nice red, they were turning very pale. And on some days during this whole journey, they were just white. And it was so hard to see. But over that initial weekend, where we just went to our regular vet and we were starting to take some medicines, she seemed to just continue to decline. She ended up fainting, and that's when we were like, wow. We called the vet back. We needed to do something. Something was really wrong. And they recommended that we go to this critical care, basically emergency room for dogs, kind of nearby our house, where they also do, oncology and all kinds of high-end dog care. Basically, when you're in a tough spot, this is where you go. And we took Pepper there right away. They were very concerned about her, and took her back for some diagnostics. And I guess you guys are already up to speed with this because I talked about this when I brought up our GoFundMe, and I guess I'll talk about that a little bit more as we're going on too. So, the two main theories was that she had an ulcer, she was bleeding in her GI tract somewhere, or it could be an autoimmune disorder where her body was attacking her blood. And over the course of the next 2 weeks, we had many more theories about what could be going on. And ultimately, we were trying to treat a lot of things all at once and just trying to get them to stick. And I suppose at this stage, the number one thing we thought we needed was just more time. We needed to give her steroids time to work. We needed to give her autoimmune medicine more time to work. We needed to give her blood transfusions more time and her plasma transfusions more time. So what does that mean? That means the limiting factor became funds, because everything in the dog veterinary world is paid out of pocket immediately, even with insurance. We don't have a copay when we show up and then we think about the bill later. This all had to be done immediately. And day by day by day by day, they were collecting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from us. And it became very clear that Holly and I did not have the means to keep up with this at all. But we thought all we needed was more time. When I was going through the program and trying to stop drinking, one tool that helped me with that was the Serenity Prayer. Accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And over the course of the past 2 weeks, that has been my absolute mantra. I've been saying it over and over and over again, trying to keep myself grounded, trying to keep myself focused on the things that I can have some control over, because there's a lot that I don't in this situation. And that's when we decided that if we just need more time and we need more funds, then we had to do the GoFundMe. That was in my power. I could do that. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I didn't want to do that. But I'm so glad we did, because it's given me a lot of peace knowing that ultimately we were able to try everything. We, I'm skipping ahead. I think it was about a week into her stay, the doctors were able to get her stable. I want to say this is after about 3 blood transfusions, 2 plasma transfusions, and she ended up being on a plasma drip. They replaced her IV fluids with just a constant stream of plasma because her blood proteins were getting so low that they were worried that she wouldn't be able to actually clot blood in her body anymore if this was a bleed somewhere inside of her. We were checking her with ultrasounds. We were checking her with x-rays to see if there was anything out of the ordinary. And at this time, nothing weird was showing up. After that first week of her treatment, she was stable enough for us to bring her home. And I got to tell you, that was the best feeling in the entire world. We have our girl back. We have our son back. The center of our universe is here. It didn't matter what we had to do. We could take care of her at home. They got her off all of her in vitro medications. They got her on a bunch of oral medications. Oh, at 2 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 10 a.m., noon, 4, 2, 4, 5, and 6. I was giving her medicine around the clock while she was here. That was her medicine schedule. And I was mixing up slurries. I was giving her pills. I was making sure she had everything she needed. And we brought her home on a Friday, and she was tired. Saturday, we had our girl. She was here, and she was acting like her old self. Timidly, slowly, not doing anything too crazy. She was following her mom around the house. She was looking at the windows. She was barking at things. She was wagging her tail. One of the biggest struggles through this 2.5 week journey was watching her not have an appetite. And the doctors being like, we need this to perk up. This is one of the signs of her getting better. She needs to eat. She's not interested in food. They had a nasal gastric tube in. She had a feeding tube in. So she was getting nutrition, but she needed to have solid food moving through her to make sure that if something was wrong in there, maybe this could promote healing. Maybe if there was something in her intestines, this could help. And I kind of had a not really similar experience, but when I was in the hospital for my brain surgery when I was 21, I was in the ICU for 8 days, and 5 days in, I had not eaten anything. I didn't want to at all. There was no part of my body that was calling for food. The doctor said I couldn't leave until I ate and had a bowel movement because they needed to make sure that I wasn't internally bleeding somewhere. And I remember being so weak in the hospital that on day 5, they were like, here, just eat this. It's a little Italian ice cup, a little Jello cup that big of just Italian ice. And I remember pulling that ice from the little tray in front of me towards my chest and holding it there and realizing that took all of the strength that I had in my body and I couldn't do anything else. And I had to have my dad feed me that day because I couldn't move this thing. But just that little bit of food, just that little bit of spark the next day, it was like the engine inside of me was waking up again. It was this, I've never experienced that outside of critical medical care, but it gave me a point of reference where I could relate to Pepper. So in my head, I'm like, we just got to get her to eat one day. And if she eats one day, that spark in her belly's going to be, her engine's going to be roaring too. And she's going to be feeling even more energized the next day and more energized the next day. And that's exactly what we saw. Every day we visited Pepper in the ICU. Every day I was bringing her, we were buying like this top round steak at the supermarket that's cut super thin, and I was dicing it out super small so she could just take tiny bites. We had chicken for her. Any high prize food we could give her, with the vet's permission, of course. We weren't trying to just give her junk food, but anything we could get her to eat while she was in the ICU, we wanted her to eat. And it did play out exactly like I thought. She had like 2 bites of a hot dog one day. The next day, she ate 5 ounces of steak. The next day, she ate another 5 ounces of steak. It seemed like she was getting her strength back. She had her appetite back, and that's why we were able to bring her home. But ultimately, Saturday was by far our best day we had with her. Sunday, she just felt like she was in a funk again. And we were worried. You know, at like 2 o'clock, we're like, she doesn't want to eat anything. She's been eating a lot. That kind of sucks. At 3, we gave her an appetite stimulant as well as an anti-nausea medicine. So in our heads, we're like, okay, we'll wait for 3. We'll give her that. It's been about half an hour since her food drive, until her food drive really kicks in again. But she didn't want to eat, and she was just moving so slow. And it just seemed like as the day went on, she was slowing down more. And we were like, okay, we got to take it back. Now, keep in mind, she has been stable in the hospital up until this time. This is probably 9 days into our journey at this point. But if we did not take her back that night, she would have suffocated on our floor, and I'm almost certain. And I'm so glad we took her back, because when we got back to the vet again, her red blood cell count was hovering around 10% again. And this is something that we've been battling up and down and up and down and up and down the entire time that she was in the hospital, is just keeping her red blood cells in her veins. So like, please just hold on to that blood, Pepper. That's all we needed. When she was admitted back into the hospital, she got another blood transfusion, brought her levels back up. But it started to seem like each blood transfusion she got, which I don't even think I'm exaggerating, was probably 8 or 9, while she was in the hospital. It lasted less and less time. Her body was breaking down the blood faster. And we did a CT scan, or losing the blood faster. We did a CT scan where she had to be sedated because she can't move. And with that scan, we saw that her spleen was now quite enlarged. And it was enlarged so much that it was basically, its spleen's normally just, the doctor described it as an eel-shaped organ that is normally hanging out on one side. And it had expanded so much that it was basically going from kidney to kidney on Pepper. It was really, really enlarged. And that could be the spleen enlarging to try to keep up with what her body's going through, or that could be cancer of the spleen. And one negative thing is that we did not see any tumors on the CT scan. So her spleen's enlarged, and we don't know the exact reason why. We went ahead and started giving her chemotherapy. And once again, we're just hoping that we need more time. The chemo started on Monday of this week, I think, and we just needed to hold out until Friday to see if we were getting positive results. We also did I believe it's called an endoscopy exam. I probably said the wrong word, where they take a flexible tube, kind of exactly like what goes on with a colonoscopy. I had these same cameras in my sinuses where they would go in and go around and look at things. They put a flexible camera into her. They did an upper GI tract just to make sure everything was going on okay up here. They did a lower GI tract to see what was going on there. And they did see abrasions. They did see lesions. They did see her bleeding. But ultimately, they came to the decision that the bleeding that they were seeing was the reaction of something else and not the cause of all of our problems. So we gave her the absolute best chance we possibly had to see this through with a positive outcome. She was in that hospital for a very long time, and everyone that worked there knew Pepper. Everyone there was rooting for Pepper, just like I was, just like you guys were. And unfortunately, her nothing worked. We were able to keep her stable, but her body was just breaking down the blood faster and faster and faster. I really want to stress that I truly do feel that she got the best medical care possible. And there's some peace in that. There wasn't just one doctor working on this, it was the whole village coming together. Everyone was consulting with everyone. We were trying to get the best possible help here. And I know she got it. I know she got it. And the only reason that Pepper was able to get that help is because of you guys. It was because we started that GoFundMe. It was because you guys absolutely flooded us with not only funds, not only incredible amount of funds, but an incredible amount of support too. We had people checking in with us 24/7 to make sure that we were okay. People in the community just like you. My dad flew up here to make sure we were all right. He's still staying with us. He's going to leave in a couple days. It sucks sometimes that it takes the worst moments in your life to sometimes reveal just how blessed you really are. To see all these rays of light coming down out of the clouds, all these people that want to help us, all these people that were in our corner rooting for us. It was absolutely an incredible feeling. And I'm going to do my best to never take that for granted and never forget how lucky we were in this moment. I would have been beating myself up for years if we didn't have the opportunity to try. And I want to give the most sincerest thank you I possibly can that you guys gave us that chance to try. Another thing that's giving me a little bit of peace is because this case was so confusing, because this case didn't fit any boxes, and because this case left some of the doctors stumped. They asked us for permission to do a small autopsy, take samples from, I'm not going to go into too many details, but basically try and use Pepper's case as a means of helping other dogs if we see similar symptoms coming up with other dogs in the future. And part of me knowing that my little girl could be helping out another family one day, I can hold on to that. So as far as content plans for the next week or so, I'm going to take it easy with streaming. I imagine Holly's going to be doing the same thing. I don't know when the night shift is going to make its return. We're just taking it easy in that regard. However, I am planning on making some recorded content. The video should be rolling out again pretty soon. Specifically, probably some Randy Dandy, some Oblivion stuff. I would really like to get into Cyrodiil and escape for a few hours. That sounds really, really good. Again, the most sincerest thank you I could possibly give. Thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you for letting us try. I appreciate you all more than you could ever know. Thank you for being here.